Hello, welcome to the Sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Players Championship 2016 edition. I am here with Todd Anderson, runner-up last year, here wanting one better finish.
Yeah, this year I'm looking for revenge, a little redemption. My run getting here was a little rough, but we got there at the end of it. So.
Yeah, you had the biggest sweat of everyone, just kind of hanging on. Tiebreakers didn't go your way at the Invitational, so then you just had to watch top 8 as Jacob Ball did the dirty work for you.
Yeah, you know, in my head before the tournament started, I didn't really want him to do well, you know, but in the spirit of sportsmanship and everything, I wished him good luck at the beginning of the event. I went up to him specifically to tell him, and then little I know he's just going to win the whole thing because of my good luck.
Yeah. I'll be sure to talk to you next time I play a tournament, get that blessing. But let's talk about your legacy deck here. You worked with Brad Nelson, so you guys are on similar decks.
Yeah.
You're playing Sneak and Show, a deck that kind of showed up big time at the latest GP over in Japan, won the tournament. But you guys have played this deck quite a bit, and you've played Legacy a long time.
Yeah, I mean, ever since I came to the SCG Tour, Legacy was one of my favorite parts of it, and it didn't take me too long to learn how to respect Sneak and Show as a deck. The first time my opponent went Lotus Petal, Ancient Tomb, cast Show and Tell on the play, I didn't have Force Will and I died. You know, and back then it wasn't like Gristlebrand only. It was Progenitus.
Mm-hmm.
What else was there? I don't know. Just giant,
just
any giant creature.
In.
Yeah, it was crazy.
All right,
but yeah.
Let's take a look at the cards because this deck hinges around two basic cards where the deck name comes from, Sneak and Show. You have Sneak Attack, Show and Tell, and then the creatures you're putting in with them, Emrakul and Gristlebrand, which we'll see on the next page.
Yep.
This is the meat and potatoes of the deck.
Yeah, I mean, everything else is it's details, you know. Show and Tell is the most powerful card in the deck because it's the cheapest. Not only that, but it also is a blue spell to pitch to Force of Will if you end up drawing multiple copies of. The fact that it costs 2 colors and a blue means that you can play cards like Ancient Tomb, City of Traders, that let you ramp into it faster. But yeah, for the most part, you're just trying to put a giant creature in play.
Right. There's also lines that involve kind of putting Sneak Attack in play, so you can then haste in your creature, these kinds of things. But main part, this is an A plus B deck. You're putting together one of these two cards with one of your creatures. We'll move on to the next slide. Right. See kind of how you see if the coast is clear, and then we kind of dig into the cantrips.
Right. So, well, Gristlebrand, you can use that with Sneak Attack. Most of the time, you want to put Sneak Attack into play, not just Show and Tell a creature. Things can go wrong if you just cast Show and Tell and put Emrakul into play. Your opponent can have a Caracas. They can play a Jace the Mind Sculptor or a Liliana of the Veil, and then your creature goes away. So you're really looking to put either Gristlebrand or Sneak Attack into play with a Show and Tell so that you can start drawing a ton of cards, or haste a creature into play so your opponent can't use a sorcery speed way to deal with it. Cards like Lotus Petal allow you to reactivate the Sneak Attack once again after drawing a bunch of cards with Gristlebrand. Usually end up finding the Emrakul and putting 2 creatures into play and destroying their board, blah, blah, blah.
Right. We see the 22 usually with the Gristlebrand
and
the
Emrakul. Taylor Swift.
Right, as we call it.
Yeah. Yeah, but Jataxian Probe, it's not commonplace in the deck. The ones from GP Chiba didn't play it. It's kind of a throwback to the versions that Brad and I used to play where, you know, we're going to have access to everyone's list when we're playing them, so I just want to know what's in their hand if I can resolve my spell or not. Plus, it's a blue card. You can pitch to Force of Will. It's going to be a common theme.
Right.
A lot of our cards
that
are
argument going to go a long way. But yes, when you know kind of what people are dealing with, knowing when the coast is clear, kind of fits into the Brad Nelson strategy of this deck that we've seen back in the day where it's just jam, jam, jam.
Yeah. No, that's the motto.
You know.
We're just going to the club, jam.
All right, moving on. Brainstorm is going to be coupled with Ponder. Preordain, you got Force of Will here, which allows you to force your combo through.
Yeah, it also allows you to protect from your opponent's combo. We're going to be seeing things like Storm, Elves, all kinds of decks in this tournament that we need to interact with. But on top of that, you do get to protect your own combo with Force of Will, and it's honestly, it's just part of the format now. So.
Moving on, we'll also see Spell Pierce, Flusterstorm, more cards that kind of help you win these counter wars, make sure your part works, theirs does not.
Yeah, again, a double-sided card because it can either disrupt your opponent or protect your combo as you're trying to go off.
All right, and we can kind of include Lotus Petal here with the lands as we start pushing forward because we're going to have a lot of fast mana in this deck. Lotus Petal along with Ancient Tomb and City of Traders allows you kind of do your broken turn 1 Show and Tells or even, you know, forcing out, you know, sneak attack on the second turn and activating.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I do just blind show and tell sometimes to put in a sneak attack because I feel like I'll eventually draw one of my big creatures, either with a Ponder, a Preordain, or what have you. So, yeah, getting either of those into play as quickly as possible is very important.
All right, let's move through the rest of the mana base. You're going to see, the soul lands, of course, and then just a bunch of blue fetches because you're mainly just trying to find Volcanic Island and Island, as we'll see. You're kind of splitting the difference here to avoid Pithing Needle.
I mean, yeah, that's basically it. I didn't want to bother with it. I just want to play 4 and 4. But since people know our deck list, if we do play 4, they can very easily just board in Pithing Needle and needle 4 of our lands.
Yeah, don't want to get Stone Rain for 1 mana. And then, of course, your Volcanics and your Islands. We'll move on to the sideboard here as we kind of prepare ourselves for the other degenerate things and try to protect our combo.
Right. So I think Leyline of Sanctity is the most important card in our sideboard to talk about. It being the way that you beat Storm without having to do anything. If you put a Leyline of Sanctity into play and you just have Force of Will and a blue card in your hand, the game is over. They can't do anything. They have to draw their 1 or 2 of, and then they have to fight through the Force of Will, and then they have to cast a Pass in Flames and then do it again. And this is all while you're assembling your own combo. And Sneak Show is pretty fast. Even if you're mulling to 6 with a Leyline of Sanctity, that's fine. You'll be all right.
Yeah, this isn't putting a Nimble Mongoose on play, turn 1 and trying to one them to death.
Yeah. I mean, the best part and the major part for Leyline of Sanctity, though, is just making sure that your opponent can't disrupt you with various discard spells. Decks like Shardless Bug, they play, or Shardless Soul Tie. Excuse me. They play Liliana of the Veil. They play Thoughtseize, Hymn to Torok. Decks that play a lot of discard and not a lot of counter spells, those are the decks where you really want Leyline of Sanctity.
Okay. Submerge is an interesting card here. We see this a lot out of the tempo decks, but I mean, you have islands, your opponents are going to have forests.
Oh, yeah, we call that the Tom Ross card. That's just Tom Ross there drowning in the wave. That's for Infect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that matchup's tough.
Draft Digger's Cage here for, graveyard shenanigans. Also has some splash damage against elves. We'll continue moving on. Then you're going to have a bunch of... This is something you kind of started way back a couple years ago. Sometimes, show and tell, not good enough. You need to just Soul Ring out Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Yeah, I mean, better than all, right? Like, that's the joke. So Jace the Mind Sculptor, I used to play 2 main deck, and I believe the one from Grand Prix Chiba had 1 main deck, if I'm not mistaken. Personally, I love Jace the Mind Sculptor and Sneak and Show, but you can't protect it. You can't block. You don't have Tarmogoyfs. You don't have Baleful Strix, So... It's really just a sideboard card for miracles. You're almost said miracles. I don't know why. But yeah, it's just
miracles.
It's basically a must counter from a miracles opponent. If you play against the mirror match or a deck like Storm, you can also bring it in. It's just a source of card advantage that you can bury your opponent with if they don't have creatures to attack it. So.
Pyroclasm takes care of the swarms, good against Infect, Elves, things like that.
Yep.
Beseiju here kind of helps you force your combo through. And then on the last page, we're going to see some more interaction, basically. Flusterstorm and then Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast here helps fight the blue decks and other kind of combo-heavy decks.
Yeah, so Flusterstorm, we have 1 main and 1 board. That card is phenomenal against... why can't I? Storm. I don't know what's wrong with me today. But yeah, it's just a great card, against decks that are very spell dense. It protects you from hand disruption. It can counter your opponent's Brainstorm in decks where the Brainstorm is really important. It's also good against Infect too. They're trying to do this big flurry of a turn, and if you start a counter war battle or a counter spell battle, Flusterstorm is just going to win it if you have the mana to cast it.
Yeah, Flusterstorm just always wins the counter wars. It's the person with the last one. And Flusterstorm usually is the last one.
Yeah. Red Elemental Blast, Pyroblast, basically the same card. We wanted to split them 1-1 so that our opponent couldn't play Meddling Mage and name it, and we could just draw the other one. So.
Right. Get them good. All right, now take us through why did you guys decide to play Sneak and Show for this tournament? Because you guys have a lot of experience with a lot of legacy decks.
Yeah, we tested a couple of different decks. I tried out the Black Red Reanimator deck that I played. I think I got top 16 at an open recently with it.
Baltimore.
That deck just wasn't consistent enough. I just really wanted to play Brainstorm again. Sneak and Show is a deck that I haven't come back to in a long time, and we looked at the metagame. We kind of deciphered what we thought most people would play. It gives us, I think, the best chance to beat anything while not necessarily being great against anything. I think that it just has the tools necessary to win the first 3 matches.
All right, well, that's what you're trying to do. Round 1 is Legacy play. You guys got a very powerful deck. You're looking for redemption, revenge, all of the R's.
Nah.
Todd, best of luck here at the Players' Championship.
Thanks, Nick.